You see, we've mistaken effort for existence. Somewhere along the way, we started believing that if we just try hard enough, if we plan, push, optimize, and hustle, life will finally open its gates and let us in. But have you ever noticed what happens when you grip too tightly? Try holding sunlight in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the faster it escapes through your fingers. Most of us are living exactly like that, trying to hold light, trying to hold life. We chase peace as if it were a finish line, chase happiness as if it were hiding somewhere just beyond our next achievement. Every morning begins with a battle plan. Be better, do more, control everything. And when it doesn't go the way we imagined, we double down, forcing what was never meant to be forced. It's strange, isn't it? We call it ambition, discipline, responsibility. But beneath those noble names hides something quieter, more desperate: fear. Fear that if we stop pushing, everything will collapse. Fear that if we relax our grip, life will fall apart, or worse, reveal that it never needed our control at all. What if the struggle itself is the problem? What if the very act of forcing life is the reason we feel so tired, so anxious, so endlessly behind? You can sense it, can't you, that faint exhaustion humming beneath even your good days? That constant sense of needing to catch up to something invisible. But imagine this: you stop running. You stop grasping. You simply open your hands, and the light you were chasing rests there naturally because it was never gone. Today, I want to tell you about 5 illusions we keep forcing, and what happens when we finally let them go. The question is, will you loosen your grip? There's a certain comfort in believing we're in control, isn't there? We build calendars, set alarms, write lists, and convince ourselves that order equals safety. We cling to plans like lifeboats on a restless sea, whispering that if we can just manage everything, our careers, our emotions, our relationships, we'll be safe from chaos. But life, in its quiet mischief, keeps reminding us otherwise. Think of a river. You can stand at its edge, shouting directions, drawing maps, commanding it to turn left instead of right. Yet the river will go where it must go. You might divert a little current here, build a small dam there, but its nature remains the same: movement, flow, change. The more you try to steer it with a straw, the more foolish you appear, exhausted from the illusion that you ever could. I once met a man whose life was perfectly scheduled down to the minute. Every day, color-coded in his planner: wake, exercise, work, network, meditate, sleep. He believed discipline was the key to peace. But beneath his precision was terror, the fear that if he stopped controlling even one small detail, everything would unravel. He wasn't living. He was managing existence like an anxious accountant balancing the universe's books. And then one day, life refused to cooperate. His company downsized, his partner left, his routine shattered. For weeks, he fought the collapse, forcing positivity, forcing order. But the harder he resisted, the deeper he sank. Until one morning, he simply stopped. He sat by his window, watching dust float in a beam of sunlight. No plan, no goal, no control. And in that quiet surrender, something unexpected rose in him, a strange, peaceful relief. You see, control is an addiction disguised as responsibility. It gives us the illusion of power while quietly draining our vitality. Real power doesn't come from forcing outcomes, it comes from responding to life as it unfolds. Like a sailor reading the wind, adjusting the sails, trusting the sea. Ask yourself, where are you still trying to steer the river? Where are you mistaking control for care? Because the truth is, life has been flowing just fine without your supervision. It always has. It's just waiting for you to stop shouting directions long enough to notice. There's a quiet kind of violence that hides beneath the phrase, "be your best self." It sounds inspiring, doesn't it? But look closer. For many, it means never resting, never enough. We live in an age that worships the upgrade faster, fitter, richer, calmer, more spiritual. Every morning greets us with the same silent accusation: you should be better by now. I once met a man who treated his life like a project plan. Every aspect of himself was under construction: productivity apps, mindfulness trackers, sleep data, gratitude journals. He carried them all like weapons against the chaos of being human. He thought self-discipline would make him whole, but each improvement only deepened his hunger for the next. His mirror became a battlefield. Every reflection said, not yet. Here's the strange thing about chasing perfection. The harder you try to fix yourself, the more broken you feel. Because underneath all that striving is a subtle belief that you are fundamentally wrong as you are. It's like polishing a mirror so obsessively that you forget to look into it. The glass becomes spotless, but the face behind it disappears. Imagine a tree in spring straining to grow faster, comparing its leaves to the ones beside it. Impossible, right? Growth doesn't happen through demand. It happens through alignment, through sunlight, patience, and space. But we, the clever animals, forgot this. We turn every natural process into a performance. Even rest becomes another metric to optimize. There's a difference between growth and self-attack. True growth arises from curiosity. What am I becoming when I stop pretending? False growth arises from fear. What must I change so I'll finally be acceptable? One nourishes, the other destroys. When you stop forcing yourself to improve, you don't collapse into laziness, you return to wholeness. You remember that healing isn't about adding more layers of effort. It's about removing what blocks your natural unfolding. So the next time that inner voice demands you to do better, pause and ask, who told me I wasn't already enough? Because a flower never apologizes for blooming slower than the one beside it. It simply opens when it's ready, and that, too, is perfection. Have you noticed how everything important always seems to be scheduled for later? We say, I'll rest when things settle down. I'll be happy when this is over. I'll start living once I'm ready. But that ready never comes, does it? We keep postponing life as if it were a meeting that can be rescheduled indefinitely. Modern life has turned time into a currency, and we spend it recklessly trading the present moment for the illusion of a better future. We chase hours the way a gambler chases one last win. The tragedy is, the jackpot never arrives. There's always another goal, another reason to wait. I once knew a woman who dreamed of peace. Every morning, she promised herself, once my work slows down, I'll take a walk. Once I save enough, I'll travel. Once I'm secure, I'll breathe. She believed serenity waited on the other side of achievement. But when her promotion finally came, the peace didn't. It had learned to hide in the cracks of her postponed life. One evening, stuck in traffic, she saw a child leaning out of a car window, laughing wildly at the rain. That simple joy pierced her like lightning. She realized the child was doing what she had forgotten, living while, not when, while the rain fell, while the traffic crawled, while life was still happening. You see, the mind is addicted to the future because the present feels too ordinary. It whispers, this can't be it, there must be more. But the present moment is not the prelude to life, it is life. Every when you chase takes you one step further from the only place anything ever truly happened. Try this experiment. Next time you catch yourself waiting for something for success, love, calm, pause. Notice your breath. The inhale doesn't demand tomorrow to complete itself. It ends perfectly in the exhale. Time isn't a ladder you climb, it's the air you're already breathing. Maybe the point was never to get somewhere after all. Maybe the invitation has always been to arrive here, now, before later steals another day. Because life doesn't begin when things go your way. It begins the moment you stop postponing what's already here. Love is the most beautiful place where control likes to hide. We don't often see it because it wears the costume of care, of wanting what's best for someone, of needing things to work out, of fighting for connection. But sometimes what we call fighting for love is really fighting to keep our illusions alive. Have you ever tried to make someone love you back? To convince, to prove, to earn their affection through effort? It's like trying to make a bird land on your hand by chasing it across the sky. The harder you run, the further it flies. And the moment you finally sit still, patient, gentle, open, the bird often comes on its own. Not because you caught it, but because it felt safe enough to come near. I once knew a woman who was endlessly generous in her relationships. She gave everything, time, energy, forgiveness, always hoping it would make others stay. But she wasn't giving from love. She was giving from fear. Fear of being unchosen. Fear of being left behind. Every act of kindness carried a silent contract. Please, don't leave me. And one by one they all did. Not because she wasn't worthy of love, but because love cannot breathe under obligation. The truth is, love doesn't thrive where there's pressure. It thrives where there's presence. When you stop forcing connection, something magical happens. The right people begin to stay for the right reasons, and the wrong ones quietly drift away. Real love is spacious. It's the freedom to be seen exactly as you are, and to offer that same freedom in return. It doesn't demand, be what I need, but whispers, be what you are. It doesn't say, change for me, but asks, can we grow together? If you find yourself clinging, chasing, proving, pause. Ask yourself, am I loving or am I bargaining? One opens, the other tightens. One invites, the other traps. When you stop forcing love, you don't lose intimacy, you create the conditions for it. Because true love doesn't bloom through pursuit or persuasion. It appears quietly, like sunlight through an open window, the moment you stop trying to pull the light inside. You've probably seen it, the seeker straining for enlightenment as if it were a trophy to be won. Meditating harder, breathing louder, sitting longer, determined to transcend their humanity by sheer effort. It's a noble quest, but there's a quiet absurdity in it too, like trying to calm a lake by splashing in it. The more you stir the surface, the cloudier the water becomes. I once met a man who treated awakening like a competition. He attended every retreat, read every sacred text, fasted, purified, disciplined himself into near exhaustion. He thought stillness was something he could conquer. But every time he thought he'd found it, the mind would whisper, almost there, try a little harder. The finish line kept moving, because the runner was the illusion itself. One evening, after months of relentless effort, he simply broke. He dropped his meditation posture and started laughing, not a polite laugh, but the full-bellied laughter of someone who suddenly gets the cosmic joke. I've been chasing what was never lost, he said. And that was it. No lightning bolt, no halo, just a man finally tired enough to stop seeking what was already here. You see, awakening doesn't arrive because you force the door open. It appears when you realize the door was never locked. The truth doesn't need you to strain toward it, it only asks that you stop running away. Enlightenment isn't something you earn, it's what's left when the one who's trying so hard disappears. Spiritual effort is like polishing a mirror that already reflects perfectly. The more you rub, the more smudges you create. But the moment you stop, the image returns effortless, clear, untouched. So perhaps the real practice isn't striving to wake up, but relaxing into the wakefulness that's already holding you. To stop asking, how do I become enlightened? And start wondering, what happens if I stop pretending I'm asleep? Because the paradox of awakening is this. You find peace not by reaching higher, but by falling softly into what's been here all along. When you stop forcing yourself to see the truth finally sees you and smiles. So here we are at the end, though nothing ever really ends, does it? We've wandered through the illusions of control, the exhaustion of self-improvement, the mirage of time, the ache of forced love, and the comedy of spiritual striving. And through it all, one quiet thread has been waiting beneath every story. Life doesn't need your management, it needs your trust. When you stop forcing, the world doesn't fall apart. It falls into place. The same river you tried to steer reveals it was already carrying you where you were meant to go. The mirror you kept polishing finally shows your face. The time you were racing against softens into presence. Love, unchained from need, breathes again. Even the search for awakening loses its desperation, because the seeker realizes they were never separate from what they sought. You see, forcing is the great forgetfulness. It makes you believe you must wrestle life into shape before you're allowed to enjoy it. But the truth is far simpler and far more radical. You were never broken. You were simply tangled in the effort to fix what was already whole. Pause for a moment. Feel your breath. You're not making it happen. You're being breathed. The same intelligence that moves oceans is moving through you right now, quietly, effortlessly, faithfully. That's what life is, not a project to complete, but a rhythm to remember. So perhaps today, instead of trying to control, you could try something smaller, gentler, truer. Let one thing be easy. Let one thought pass without chasing it. Let one corner of your heart remain unguarded. Just one. Because the shift doesn't begin with a grand revelation. It begins with a soft exhale, the moment you whisper to yourself, I don't need to fight this anymore. You're not failing, You're awakening. You're not collapsing, you're returning. So loosen your grip. Let the current carry you. The sunlight was never gone, it only needed your open hands. And when you finally stop forcing life, you'll discover something astonishing. Life has been here all along, waiting patiently, smiling quietly, for you to stop trying so hard to live it.